Hi everybody, this is Audrey Yeager and I am here to share a process video with you for ThermOWeb. I'm going to be using lots of ThermOWeb products today on my page. First, I'd like to show you how I designed my own stencil to use with the new ThermOWeb DecoFoil Transfer Gel. So I bought some blank stencil material, which you can just buy in the section of your craft store that does like wood painting or wall painting, and it has wall stencils. They have blank stencils, and I cut a piece to 6 by 6, and there is the transfer gel that I'm going to use once my stencil is cut. So I ran that through my Silhouette Cameo, and this cut file, by the way, I'm using is from a cut file store called Just Nick Studios. I've popped out all those little pieces of the stencil, and now I'm going to run the gel through it. So I'm doing an Easter theme page today, and I thought that these shapes kind of looked like eggs, so that's why I decided to use them. I am spreading the transfer gel just with my finger, and then I'm using a little piece of paper to kind of scrape off the rest, the excess. You can use a credit card. I also like to use the little Pampered Chef scrapers that come when you buy a Pampered Chef pan, and use those as scrapers as well. So I'm just using my finger though and a little piece of scrap paper, and that works just fine. I'm trying to line up my stencil a little bit. You see I'm peeling it off and then putting it back on. And I'm only doing about kind of half of the page there, and very haphazard design. I'm not concerned that the whole thing is getting covered. So I am going to let that dry for about an hour off to the side. And in the meantime, I'm going to be kind of cutting out some elements for my page. So I'm using a 6 by 6 paper pad from Chamel's collection called Little by Little, and I think that I am going to be using this little circle piece. I love the colors in it because it was very Eastery and springy, I thought, and I knew that there was a cute little adorable bunny in this collection, so I thought that I'm going to use all these. I do end up using the bunny. I don't end up using that ring of that colored ring there from that pattern paper, but I do something else instead. So I'm just going to fussy cut out this bunny, and then I'm going to come back in. I've took a little break, waited for my transfer gel to dry, and I'm going to come back and work with that next. So I am using Opal DecoFoil, and I use this on a winter page too, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful color, and I thought it would make the eggs kind of white and shimmery. It kind of reminds me of what like bubbles look like when you blow bubbles, the swirly colors and bubbles. That's what that Opal DecoFoil looks like. I guess I'll get to that in a minute. First, I wanted to show you, I also used some of the foam adhesive, the DecoFoil foam adhesive, and I cut out some Easter egg shapes. And I love working with the foam adhesive because all you have to do, the foam adhesive is double-sided adhesive. I just ran it through my cutting machine on a little bit thicker cut. I'm cutting out these egg shapes. Some of them have pattern in them. And I just peel off the top layer of the adhesive, like the paper layer off of the foam, and all you have to do is press the foil over the top and rub it with your fingers. And it's so easy, and it provides excellent coverage. And if it doesn't cover, you just kind of put the foil back on and keep rubbing until it sticks. So I love using the foam there. Okay, I have my 12 by 12 piece of paper that I spread that transfer gel over. I put the Opal DecoFoil over it, and I put it through a big piece of parchment paper, so kind of like a little folder of parchment paper. And this video is obviously sped up a lot. And I ran my 12 by 12 paper through the laminator, and look at there you can see the beautiful shimmery foil on that, and I love how that looks. It makes those egg shapes look so shimmery and pretty. Now my goal is to kind of use these as a resist, use the foil as a resist, so that I can add some color to the background that will be soaked up where there is paper, and the foiled areas will resist the color and stay kind of that opal sheen. So I'm just spraying a little bit of mist. I have a whole bunch of different mists here, some yellows, kind of the seafoam green, spraying it on a piece of packaging and adding a few drops of water here and there and kind of just smushing it into my background. And then I'm going to add some splatters of this teal color. and you can see every now and then when the light hits it just right, you can see the sheen on there. And I'm just going to kind of rub off some of the mist that's kind of still on the foil a little bit. I used a baby wipe and a paper towel. I don't like to use a baby wipe too much because I think it can kind of mix up your paper a little bit. Can cause your paper to tear if it gets too wet. So just a light dab of a baby wipe and a paper towel. Okay, so I have gone through now and cut out a whole bunch of egg shapes from some pattern paper, which you can see behind me there. And I've gone through a pack of die cut ephemera and picked out some pieces. And I also had this piece of pattern paper in the 12 by 12 size. And again, I really like this because these colors just reminded me of like Eastery, like jelly bean colors. And I had envisioned kind of overlapping these two rings and then, you know, having the photo there on the center of the rings. But I am not thrilled with how it looks with all of these eggs. I just thought it was a little bit too busy. So I am going to save those rings for another project, those colorful rings, and go to Plan B. Plan B is using the mixed media sheets, which you can see down there kind of in the bottom right of my screen. I cut a huge egg shape from one of the lightweight mixed media sheets, and I thought that is the perfect filler for the right-hand side of the page. And it is just transparent enough that you can still see some of the ink and some of the pattern in the background there. And I thought that would be a good base to kind of ground some of the other little embellishments. So now I'm going to start building my layers and make that photo kind of pop off the background a little bit and stand off from all the other elements. And I'm just going to layer a couple pieces of paper from the 6x6 paper pad here. I like to use kind of like a solid color, a solid piece of paper right behind my photo, and then maybe a little print behind it to kind of just add, you know, a couple different layers and add some color in there. And then I'm just taking all of these eggs I cut out, and a couple of those eggs, one on each side, are the ones that are the foam adhesive that I have covered with the DecoFoil just by running my finger over the foam. And for a little while here, I just play around with some embellishments and the arrangement of a lot of these little bits and pieces. I am now fussy cutting out some flowers because I thought I wanted some of that dark green color and some of the flowers. Before I started to commit to putting everything down, I got the crazy idea that I wanted to hand stitch all around the Easter egg. So I went through with a paper piercer and pierced holes. I have a little mat underneath my egg, which you can't see. Oh, there it is, the little black mat to kind of poke holes through. And I took just some white embroidery thread and I kind of separated the strands down to 3 strands thick. And I'm just going around with a simple back stitch, and I'm going to stitch around most of this egg. I don't stitch where the photo is going to be. So you can see there's a little spot that's not stitched, but I know my photo is going there and I kind of measured a little bit. So my background was getting a little bit warped from the stitching and from the liquidy wet mixed media stuff I had put on there. So I sometimes when it gets warped like that, I tape it down with some blue painter's tape to my table just to make sure that, you know, it doesn't bend and move around a lot. And it helps it flatten out a little bit too, I think. Now I'm building my layers by using some mixed media liquid adhesive, and which I use for everything. I use that liquid adhesive to adhere just about everything on my page. So I use that to adhere my photos to my kind of photo mats in the background. And then I also use just some plain craft foam to add another layer to provide a little bit more depth to my photo. You could also use the ThermOWeb foam adhesive sheets because they do the same thing. I like to save my ThermOWeb ones to cut out designs from because I think they cut nice, and they're double-sided adhesive, which is a little bit better for when you cut objects out with your cutting machine. I decided to go through and add a few white eggs as well. I felt that I needed to break up. There was a lot of patterns a lot of different patterns from those eggs that I cut, and I thought I would throw just a couple white ones in. Plus I have the Opal DecoFoil ones too. There's one right there, so I just took that off of the adhesive background, the paper backing of that foam adhesive, and I put it on a piece of yellow pattern paper and just cut out around the egg shape. So that's really neat. You'll see in a close-up at the end, you definitely can see the texture and the depth in that egg. And I'm doing the same thing with a couple of the other eggs that I used the die cutting machine for, just to provide a little bit of color and you know, add to the design and the pattern. So while I'm working on these eggs here really quickly, these are pictures from last Easter, of course, our beautifully dyed eggs that we spend a long time working on to make special designs and patterns and stickers, and so each kid gets their own kind of tray of eggs, and we do end up eating them all. So they did a good job this year coloring eggs. It wasn't too messy as it has been in the past years. Okay, so I just took a whole bunch of my eggs, layered them around my page. I love that little bunny sticking up there from the pile of eggs. I just think that is so, so cute. I just love this whole collection. I wanted to add a little place to journal, and for some reason I am stuck on this ring design here with those little dashes around the edge, and I think I'm going to use that purple one for journaling, but then I decided against it because there wasn't too much purple in the rest of the layout, and I thought the purple was kind of taken away from some of the other things. So I took out this little shape from one of the cards, and I'm going to stick it down there, and I like that much better. It's not as obvious, kind of blends in with the background a little bit, but still provides a nice little spot for journaling. And I was debating, sometimes when I get stuck with a title, I just use like die cuts, like this one says hello, and I'm going to add the word eggs in a little bit. So I haven't been very creative lately about making up my own titles. I mean, there are 1,000 things I could have titled this page. You know, it's a themed page, you know, excellent day, or some play on the word eggs, but I loved that little purple, that light pinkish purple hello. So I'm going to use it and kind of use it as part of my title, and it takes kind of away the thinking of you know, having to think about what to title my page. So I am going to add in some of these sticky brads from the same collection. I thought they added a nice little dimension to the page. And then a couple puffy stickers, and I took another little tiny bunny rabbit one. It's a real tiny bunny puffy sticker, and I'm going to stick it coming out of the shape of this little egg right here. There's a star shape cut in the egg, and so I have another little bunny head poking out of the opening in that egg, which is also super cute. All right, so I'm just going to fiddle around a little bit more with this. I push things around a lot when I create a page, and you know, I might just be moving them just a millimeter here or there, but to me it makes a big difference. And the ironic thing is I usually end up taking all of these things off again so that I can start gluing them down. But first, I don't know, it's just something visual. I have to see the whole thing complete before I commit to putting anything down. So I'll go through and go back and adhere everything down after I get everything set up the way I want. Okay, so here I go. Took all those eggs off. Gonna start adding my glue. I'm again using the mixed media liquid glue here, and that sticks pretty good. And the thing I like best about this glue is once you stick something down with it, it does not come up. I mean, you have a little bit of wiggle room time-wise at first to put something down, but once it's there for a few minutes, it's not coming back up. So I know that nothing's going to fall off my page when I use that liquid adhesive. I also pulled out some of the 3D foam squares that you can see up there in the top left of the screen, and I like to add a little bit more dimension depth by popping off some shapes on my page. So I popped off a few of those eggs. And again, just a little dab. I'm going to just provide a word of warning with a liquid adhesive. When you're using a liquid adhesive, it is, a watery based substance. You do not need a ton of this stuff to glue things on. Just a few dabs will do ya. You don't need a lot. And some people, if you're using a very thin paper, using a liquid adhesive can warp it. So you have to be careful with that. So just a little bit and spread it very thin. You don't need a ton. A couple drops here and there. I'm not sure what I'm doing right now. I wanted to back that egg with a different color because I didn't like the color that was behind it. So I'm going to use some pink behind this blue egg to make, so I had an aqua green behind it and you couldn't really see the pattern, so I decided to use a pink piece of paper instead so you could really see the pattern more. That egg in the back there, right above the bunny, on top of the bunny, is the Opal DecoFoil covered egg, and that was on the foam adhesive, so that just sticks right to the page. You don't have to add any extra adhesive to that. And I'm just going to put all my little bits on here. And I kind of play around with this title a little bit. I wasn't sure if I wanted it a little bit lower, kind of right behind the bunny, or up a little bit higher. Once I moved it lower, I couldn't really fit those flowers in like I wanted to, because I didn't want the flowers to mess up the bunny. So I decided to move it back up a little bit and still be able to put my little fussy cut flowers there. And lastly, I wanted to add the word egg. So I just dug through my stash and I found some white thickers and spelled out the word eggs. And I'm going to put them right on top of my egg shapes. And that is about it. I do go back and add my journaling and the date on here. And here is my finished page. So I love all those little eggs. Came out super cute. And I love how that foil, look at that foil just shimmering, that opal foil. So, so beautiful. And I just love using that laminator too. There you can see the foam adhesive, the foil with the foam adhesive on the left there. And another shot of another opal covered egg, kind of bright and shiny. So lots of fun ThermOWeb products. Thank you so much for stopping by to view this page today, and stay tuned for a lot more videos coming your way.